evening and welcome to the FITT Show. Financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer.
And I'm Thomas Doty.
And we are the FITT Show, helping our people get their finances in shape. Okay, welcome everybody. This is the season to be jolly. We hope everybody's in good spirit. This is our last show for 2022. So we hope everybody's tuning in and listening, because last week we talked about, are you rich? And I hope some of you, after you looked at your true net worth and realized that you're richer than you think. And we also realized it ain't all about money. It should be rich in your mind, because it's all a mindset. So welcome everybody. How you doing today, Dope?
Man, I'm happy to be alive.
Oh, shoot, that's a bonus these days, because you know one thing? Everybody's not alive. and I have a friend that's in the funeral business that had it for years, and my God, he's making so much money, though. You know why? Well, everybody's dying to give him business. Okay, way to start off the new year.
You're in rare form today, man.
Hey, man, where's the roll in the butter? I'm on a roll, baby. Hey, Dope. So let's talk at the top of our show. One of the top things we always talk about when we started off is everybody's favorite stock market topic. How's the stock market doing, Dope?
Man, this was a ugly, ugly day and an ugly, ugly week. The Dow is down only 0.5% from last week, but the Nasdaq's down 3%, and that's all a function of, and it's kind of a crazy situation. The Fed has been lowering interest rates, as we talked about every week, but everything is still strong. They aren't seeing the weakness that they are trying to exert on the market, which means they have to keep raising interest rates in order to get the weakness. Now, you got that thin line of you want things to get weak, but you don't want to fall into a recession. But it seems that that might be imminent now, in that they keep raising interest rates, but they have not seen the weakness they're expecting to see. And so the NASDAQ, which is very, very interest sensitive because it's mostly growth stock, has taken a pretty big hit the last week. It's down 3%, which is considerable. It's at 10,476. And then a lot of the stocks that follow, Microsoft's down 4.4%. Tesla's down huge, but there's a bunch of things going on there. They're actually offering rebates on their cars right now. Elon Musk is still saying and doing some crazy things, so people are questioning his leadership. So Tesla stock is down, has been going down for the last several months. So that's a bad situation. Apple's pretty much following the rest of the NASDAQ trend, down 3.6 or 5 points, and Pfizer's down a couple of points, down to 52. But it appears that the Fed's going to continue lowering interest rates until they see the weaknesses they're looking for. A lot of people are saying a recession's coming, but this next year's going to be challenging. We'll have to see how it goes.
And Don, I just want to make the distinction, because some people tell me, if you're in blue chip stocks, they wonder why you look at they look at their stocks and they're going way down. Then some other stocks, when they look at the Dow and they go, oh, the Dow is not down that much. And then they look at the NASDAQ and it's almost double, what the Dow is doing. That's because a lot of the tech stocks, everybody, on the NASDAQ exchange. Most of them are. A lot of them are all on the NASDAQ. That's why it looks like bigger hits on the NASDAQ than when you have stocks on the Dow Industrial, But
the growth stocks are going to be much more interest sensitive, okay? And you talk about growth stocks, you're talking about investments. You think about interest rates. The higher the interest rates, the less the investment. So it's as Bob is saying, most of the tech stocks are in the NASDAQ, and they are mostly growth stocks.
Right.
Like Dow is pretty much a good combination, a good cross section of everything.
Right.
But the NASDAQ is very, very tech heavy.
Very tech heavy, yeah. But I just want to make that point. And my goal is up, Dope, believe it or not, which was supposed to be how it's supposed to work. Gold was an inflationary counter, but it wasn't fully going like that for a while. But like I told you, like a couple of weeks ago, gold was up like $60, man. But so let's get into the cryptocurrency, though. The total market cap for cryptocurrency has dropped by $11 billion, which sounds like a lot, but for the crypto market, that's not a lot. But believe it or not, I mean, let me put it like this: it's been greater drops than that. The Bitcoin still the number one coin, and it's dropped $615. That's approximately 4%. That's a good little drop because it went up to 17, though. It went down, to 16 before, but it just keeps fluctuating up and down. And then Ethereum, which is the number two, which once again, the smart contracts are supposed to be a little bit more structured than just straight cryptocurrencies, period. They dropped about $55. So, a coin, cryptocurrency coin. Tether, which is the stable coins, which is pegged to the dollar, they stayed constant. Dogecoin stayed constant as number 8, but it actually dropped by a penny. Remember, it went up by 10 cents. Remember, about 2 years ago, it was all the way up to $1. And then Shiba is dropping, though. The meme coin, which is like a symbol, which is like what is it? It's a wolf, an Indian wolf. That symbol, a meme, and it's dropped again now from 15 to number 16. So that's what's happening with the crypto market. It's sort of going along with the stock market, but it's down approximately about 70% from a year ago, though. So, and that whole FTX with Bankman and Fried, it just really shook the confidence in cryptocurrency, big time, big time. So so with that, though, I want to get into today's topic. We talked about Are You Rich, but we're going into 2023, and we really want people to get prepared for financial planning for 2023. Now, 3 weeks ago, we talked about year-end planning for 2022. But now we want to jump into talking about planning in 2023.
Yeah, that's it's no better time than right now to start looking at your plans for next year and making sure you're set up to have a successful year. This 2022 has been extremely tough, and 2023 is starting off very, very rough. Market's been extremely volatile, interest rates rising, uncertainty, people still talking about recessions, and there's nothing you can do about that. But what you can do is the things you can control, you can be on top of those, like getting your plan straight, making sure you got everything in line for next year. And you got to focus on your financial plan, making sure you're set up to take advantage of whatever happens, because it's going to be another challenging year. And you want to put yourself in the best position you possibly can to weather this storm. And that's looking at your risk, fine-tuning your budget, making sure you're taking advantage of your benefits at work, looking at how diverse your portfolio is, all the things you need to be doing to make sure you're prepared for this year, and making sure you're controlling the things that you can control.
Yeah, and once again, we want to give full disclosure that we're getting a lot of our information from Kiplinger. So just want to give full disclosure to that. Thank God for Kiplinger. They're so good, have some good information. Like I said, you can go out there, kiplinger.com, and check some of these different, they have it on almost everything, which is really good. But, though, with the slowing inflation and the rising interest rates, and the ongoing effects from this daggone Ukraine war is still affecting. They still having some supply chain issues. And the pandemic is still real. I mean, I know people that are still catching the Rona will still get on you. And we can expect the economic landscape to remain predictably unpredictable. So, there's not much that you can, do, to influence this geopolitical environment and the economics of things. But there are plenty of ways that you can ensure that your own finances are, really organized and structured enough to deal with whatever the next 12 months bring. So, Dope, would you start it off with one of the first things for 2023 planning?
And the first thing is pretty basic, but it's audit your beneficiaries. It's a good time to look through that, look at all your accounts that you have, your savings accounts, your checking accounts, your credit unions, your work 401ks, and make sure you have your beneficiaries designated as you want them to be. And the other thing you need to do is set up contingent beneficiaries. For example, if you're married and you set up a beneficiary as your wife, make sure you set up somebody else in case something happens to the both of you, that you can earmark where that account goes. So make sure you have your beneficiary set up and also your contingent beneficiary. But those things change. It could change. You could have a change of heart as who should be in it. Unfortunately, someone may have passed away, or someone may no longer be in your life for whatever reason, and you need to update that. That's the first thing you want to do. Make sure your beneficiaries are set, and each one is still who you want it to be.
Yeah, that's very important, because a lot of people will be sleeping on the beneficiaries because they've been on there for so long, and some people who've gotten divorced and remarried still have their exes on as their beneficiaries. You don't want to do that. So next one is to take advantage of your higher limits in your withholdings. And let me explain what that means. Increasing your withholding percentage by 9.7% will allow you to continue to max out of your 401k savings opportunity in 2023. For example, if you earn $250,000 in 2022 and maxed out your contribution as say, a 49-year-old or younger, you would have a withholding percentage of 8.2%, saving approximately $20,500 for the year. That way, you take full advantage of the increased limit of $22,500 for 2023, which is planned to increase. That from the 8.2% to the 9% in 2022, which is an increase of 9.7%. Now, if you're 50 and over, which they call the catch-up in the 401k plan, the appropriate percentage increase to your annual withholding rate is approximately 11.1% to take full advantage of the new 30,000 limit, because they're giving you another 7,500 for the catch-up. That makes the new limit in 2023 $30,000, which is great. So if you didn't max out your contributions and if you didn't max out your 2022 contribution, you should also consider increasing whatever withholdings level was by 10% in January, or by at least 2.5% per quarter, so it reaches the 10% by the end of 2023. I hope y'all follow that. But if you have any questions, put some comments down in the comment box. And like we always say, we want to make this interactive, but if I went too fast with too many numbers, put a comment, and that's how we can interact with you.
Okay, and the next one is make the most of your HSA. And you have to look in, and it's kind of a guess, is try to figure out what you're going to spend next year. But make sure you got the money put aside and that you're taking advantage of that. That's the last triple tax exempt investment vehicle available. And by triple tax exempt, I mean federal, state, and local. That's one of the few items that's tax exempt at all three levels. Make sure you're taking advantage of it. And if you have money left in this year, in most cases, you can pass it over, which is different than a flexible spending account, where if you don't use it, you lose it, or at least that's how it was when I was still employed. But make sure you're taking advantage of that and getting that tax exempt money put aside to use for medical expenses if you know you're going to have those type of expenses next year.
Yeah, that's very important. Take advantage of that health savings account. Now, this next one, stick with me again on the numbers, ladies and gentlemen. Decide how to use your Social Security wage-based pay rise. Now, a lot of people are like, wait a minute, Social Security pay rise. Yeah, this is if you're working. So in 2023, Social Security would take 6.2% of your salary up until you earn $160,200. For instance, if you earn $200,000, 6.2% will be deducted from your monthly paycheck until you hit the $160,200 base. If you earn $200,000 a year, your monthly salary is $16,667. So this will take approximately 10 months for you to hit the limit where they stop taking out the Social Security of 6.2%. I know everybody wish they had that issue, but a lot of people do have that. Now, after Social Security stops coming out, essentially giving you an automatic pay raise of $1,033 a month in November and December. That's 6.2% of your monthly salary. If you were earning $200,000 a year, that means your monthly salary would have been $16,067. Rather than just let that money disappear into your daily spending, think about intentionally investing it in your savings or to make more money of it, to invest it. And the sooner and the larger this pay raise will be during this over the course of a whole career could become a considerably nest egg each year if you do this.
Okay, and the next one, if you're over 72, God bless you if you made it that far, but make sure you're leveraging your RMD. That's your required minimum distribution. And that's the money that has to come out of your IRAs that, you put in pre-tax and you save for all these years. You got a nice little hunk of change. Well, once you turn 72, you're required to start taking that money out and paying taxes on it. And remember, we mentioned if you don't do that, you got like a 50% tax you have to pay on the amount of money that you should have withdrawn. So you don't want to miss that. If you're in that age group, make sure you're looking at taking that RMD out and make sure you're doing it in a way that benefits you the most. And so if you, one of the options we had mentioned before is if you invest that money into a charity, you can take care of the RMD and get a tax deduction. That's just another way of doing it. But other than that, just make sure you're meeting that requirement if you are 72 years old.
Right. So the next one is pretty interesting. Invest in self-care. Now, looking after your physical and mental health has never been more important than now. So put the time and money aside, at the beginning of the year to fund your self-care fund, and particularly try to plan at least at least one long break, a week or 2 weeks, or maybe even 3 weeks, or as well as just 5 days, 4 to 5 days. Take that time, put money away for that, and you can use that time to recharge your energy. And this could even be a smart way to use your automatic pay raise that we talked about under, where I talked about deciding how to use your Social Security wage base increase. But really, y'all, a lot of times we don't really invest into our self-care, and we need to step off the rat race, the treadmill, of life, and rejuvenate yourself, recharge your engine. So really consider putting money away. And if you start at the beginning of the year and plan for later on, you can do it.
Okay, and the next one is review your parents' plans. But really, this can apply to your parents, any elderly friends you have, any friends you have that are not technically savvy, or any friends you have that have accumulated some money but aren't quite sure of what to do, or don't really know what to do. And it's a tough thing to talk about, but there may come a time when your parents or that other elderly person can't really take care of their financial things themselves. It's a good idea to talk to them now about their financial portfolio and how they want their affairs to be managed in the future. That way, you don't have to worry about something unpleasant happening that may affect your own plans down the road. And it's a lot of things that could go wrong here. You can avoid probate. You can make sure things are set up in the right way so there's a smooth transition if something was to happen to them. And more importantly, is taking a look to make sure they are not susceptible to getting scammed. Make sure you have some safeguards in place to ensure that no one can go in and hit their checking account, or that they don't answer a scam, and they don't get a phone call saying their grandkids in jail. The scammers are getting better and better at what they do, and they target old people. So make sure you set up some safeguards for the elderly folks that you know. Make sure their accounts have alerts, and you can set them up to come to you if you are their caretaker, and you can know whenever something's happening in their account. If they deal with one particular bank, go and introduce yourself to them and make sure they know if somebody else brings them in there to sound the alarm. So there's a lot of things you can do, one, to help that transition be smooth if something happens to them. But also, if you don't do that, there's a lot of money that will be eaten up in taxes, lawyer fees, probate, all those kinds of things. And that's money that basically gets blown away, that could be passed along to you or to a charity or some other worthy cause, as opposed to being sucked in by the government.
And don't take this lightly, you all, because the other thing you have to take in account to help your parents is planning with long-term care. Don't forget that, because as they get older, the sooner you start thinking about helping them with that, the better it is. Because a lot of people do it, because their parents and leave it to them. But if your parents are welcoming it, it would help, because a lot of a lot of us will be taking care of their parents. So really consider helping them with the long care, because remember, if you don't have long-term care and something happened to them and they go to nursing home, um, they're going to take whatever assets there are. And it's like you can't just try to move the money all of a sudden immediately before you put them into a nursing home, because they look back 5 years, so you got to plan ahead. Next one I want to talk about is get your kids involved. Now, this is the same way you need to understand your parents' plans. This is a good idea to ensure your children understand yours. And I'm talking about, it doesn't matter which age they are. I mean, at least at an age where, they're old enough to take it all in. But I'm talking about even if you have older kids, it's important that you have an open conversation with them about your financial situation, you know, as well as your values and your causes and ethics you believe in and would like to see them follow after you're gone. And I know I didn't have these conversations though with my parents, or even my older siblings, But the more you engage, and I know you just can't talk to everybody, but the more that you can have the conversation, about these um, situations in life, especially with your kids. And it don't matter, the older, the more important it is to have that. So consider that involving your kids in these financial discussions now.
Yeah, and the next one is not really a financial issue, but it's more related to your own self-care and well-being. It is now is a good time to decide what relationships you're going to focus on in 2023. You know, you always think in your mind, you wish you had more time to spend with your friends and family, but a lot of time life gets in the way and you don't get to do what you want to do. And so now is the perfect time to sit down and reflect on the people you want to spend time with next year and make plans to make that happen if they're not around you. If you need to plan a trip to go see somebody or plan a trip to hang out with a bunch of your boys, now is the time to do that. Take time and set aside the money or set up a mechanism to allow you to spend your time where you want to spend. And so at the end of next year, you aren't sitting there saying, "Oh, I wish I had done this," or "I wish I had done that." And if you don't plan to do it, it's not going to happen.
So, Doe, this is a very sensitive one, but it's also what it says is get rid of them toxic people that are in your life. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm sorry, y'all, if they're not adding to your life, and I mean, I've had a friend that just every time he called was always something negative and always just complaining, man. And I mean, I know that some of our friends really go back to all, but some people don't. As we get older, man, those relationships, man, if they're not beneficial to you, you need to cut them people back. That's all I wanted to add to that. And Modestine, what's up, Modestine? Modestine said some parents like to keep things to themselves.
Yeah, and that's a problem with mostly poor people. And one of the reasons they stay poor. And because you don't share information. You don't know the things that you should know. And the fact that you don't share that information, you end up making very, very poor business decisions. And I'm sure we can all look back with some of the topics we've talked about, some of the issues we've talked about, some of the things we talked about that we could have done better had we had good information. And it's one of those things that, yeah, we like to keep stuff close to the vest. That you're absolutely right, Modestine. That's a fact. That's a sad fact, because if you tell somebody, it's a different set of eyes that may provide you with information that you don't have, with knowledge that you don't know. And it can help you increase your wealth. It can help you save money. It might help you decide what things you should do with your money, as far as like we talked about, beneficiaries. A lot of things we don't know, and we only know because we talk to each other. Bob and I share a whole lot of information between ourselves, and we pick up things from each other. We learn from each other, and if we didn't talk, we wouldn't learn. And so the folks who do keep things close to the vest are missing out on an opportunity to expand their knowledge. And I can understand being close to the vest if you find ways to learn all the things that you should learn. But most people don't take the time to do that. That's not part of what we do or what we've learned growing up, which is why one of the reasons why we lag behind and why there's a huge wealth gap. A lot of it's just information. And I'm not saying that's all of the problem. I know there are other reasons that contribute to the wealth gap, but one of the big reasons, and a large part of it, is lack of information. And keeping things close to the vest is going to continue to keep you from learning things that you should learn. And I'm not saying tell everybody your business. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying seek information. Seek people that can help you. And in some cases, people don't know they need help. And if you're in a position to talk to someone that you think might need help and they trust you enough to help them, then go do it. It's your obligation to do that.
And don't let's be realistic, you all. A lot of you all, your parents going to end up on you, their situation, if they're end up in needing care or end up in a nursing home, or so you really need to have that conversation with them, because it can end up on a lot of you all. The other one, before we move out of this this conversation with your parents, though, it's not only that, you need to have conversation with your aunts and uncles, because I know some people who are taking in their aunts and their uncles. So this is not just your parents, this is like your elderly relatives that, could be your father's sister, your mother's brother, and that's why we talk about this is planning for 2023.
Yeah, and Bob, we often talk about people who, spend a lot of money, try to keep up with the Joneses and blow their money and don't budget. But there's a lot of folks who were diligent savers who've accumulated a lot of money, but they aren't maximizing their situation. For example, they have money sitting in a checking account when it could be in a CD, a checking account drawing less than 1%, or a CD drawing 4.5%. And those are the things we need to get people to understand. And I know that's a tough sell. And I'm not even saying put it in the stock market for somebody at that age, but little moves like that. When you talk about 4%, that's a nice little hunk of money. If you got $100,000, 4% it's a decent amount of money. And those are the kind of things that you can do, and avoiding falling into issues of, for example, a lot of people will get their house, their parents' house, put in their name before their parents pass, which if you would talk to an attorney, he'd probably tell you not to do it. And the reason you don't want to do that is because if it's in your name, when it transfers to you, it will you'll have to pay the capital gains tax. But if you inherit it, you inherit it at its current cost basis, which again saves you money. There are a lot of ways that people who know take advantage of the tax system. And if you don't know, then you can't do it. So you got to get that information.
So Maddie Ford said, if anyone in your family has passed away, you really need to let them know what to do and how to fill out forms. We are now our parents. I took care of all my siblings and parents. I am glad that I knew what to do since everyone has passed away. Now that's another good one, because we don't talk about those. We don't plan and we don't have conversations about funeral services and funeral plans because that's so sensitive. But thank you, man. That's a good one. You need to talk about it now. You don't wait until somebody passed. And you're right, Maddie. A lot of people don't know what to do.
Yeah, that's a real good one, because that's one of those things that everybody's emotions are raw when somebody dies, and everybody has their own idea of what should happen. And then you end up with all these arguments and fights over what color dress to put on them, or what color suit, or how long the service is, or should the casket be open, should the casket be closed, do we do a wake, all those things. If you can talk to the person and get it laid out beforehand, and you get a playbook, and when the person passes, you just look at the playbook, there's no argument, and then you can just grieve instead of fighting over minor details, which that in the grand scheme of things don't really mean a lot anyway, because the person's gone.
Yeah, and Nolia, my sister, said yes, that would be a great topic to discuss. We actually in way earlier shows we talked about planning for burial services and things like that. So we're going to come back actually, and we wanted to hear from you all, because everybody has been on this show. This is our 81st show, and everybody have not been on the whole time. So we might have covered some things that some of you all missed. So put out there some of the things like Nolan put out there that you would like for us to discuss. Modestine said, I have all my wishes stated in my estate. Good thing, Modestine. Dope. When we were talking about the topic of relationships, we got a lot of amen from a bunch of people. I got comments like, yeah, absolutely. Get rid of toxic, keep it 100. Get rid of toxic people. Yes, amen. It's so true. Get rid of them. So just want to let you know we we hit a chord with that one. Doug, I want to talk a little bit about turbocharge your savings if you're a business owner in 2023. Now, one effective way to stay ahead of inflation is to save more. And if you're a business owner, you have sufficient cash flow available, you can consider investing in what they call a cash balance plan. Now, this will allow you to save as much as $343,000 in addition to your 401k and profit sharing contributions. Remember, contributions to a cash balance plan, properly structured, are fully taxable, making it a great way to accelerate your savings and build your retirement nest egg. Now, if you don't have a business in 2023, consider starting a business so you can take all kind of benefits from tax write-offs. Think about a hobby that you may have had, you know, that you've been doing that could possibly become a business, or that business that you always been talking about, thinking about. This might be the time to start planning for. Or if you're coming towards making that decision to retire, this is another good way to think of something that you can do when you retire. Because I'm telling you that everybody should at least have some kind of business, even if you knitting hats and selling those hats, you can make that actual business and reap from the benefits from the tax benefits. So if you have a business, there's a chance for you to really make some savings to turbocharge your savings. And if you don't have a business, this is the perfect time to start thinking about and planning.
Okay, the next one is, and you guys are probably tired of hearing me say this, but I only repeat it because to me it's that important. But you got to establish a budget if you don't have one, or review your budget if you do have one. If you don't have a budget, you need to create one. That helps you take control of your financial life. That's kind of the blueprint for how you're going to do. If you're not measuring and putting up guidelines for yourself, I'm not saying you won't be successful, but if you do, you're probably lucky. There's always ways you can look at your budget and streamline it and cut things out. And it helps you stay fresh on making sure you're accomplishing what you want to accomplish, okay? Setting up some guidelines, setting up some limits on what you can spend. And once you do that, you can find that excess money and you can put that money to work for you. It's funny, that's one thing I heard talking about how people look at money. And it talked about poor people look at money to pay bills. Middle class people look at money to buy things that they want, and a lot of times go in debt to do it. But rich people look at money as a vehicle to help them make more money, okay? And that's one of the things a budget will help you do. Find that excess money so you can put your money to work, and that will help you make more money. And so if you do have a budget, take a look at it, go back over and see where you spent, make sure it's realistic. Is it meeting your goals? Is it doing what you wanted to do? And look and see what you spent. And it's a good time to envision any large bills you're going to have next year, any vacations you want to do, any large spending, to say, okay, I need to start putting money away for this vacation I plan to take, or for the birthdays that they're coming. Christmas is here now. You probably spent more money than you planned to spend. So this is the time you set up your Christmas club account, put a little bit of money away every month. So when Christmas time comes, you got that little money put away to really enjoy yourself and not put that pressure on you of having to spend money and worrying about the bill coming in January. But can't express enough to you how important it is to have a budget, review it, do your best to stick to it, trim all the fat out of it, find any excess money you can, and put that money to work for you to help you make more money.
And you should review it every 6 months anyway, or quarterly at the least,
Yeah, and Bobby, you think, again, it's one of those things we just don't make that part of our life. But money is in everything you do. It's in every decision you make. And I'm not trying to say money is the most important thing in the world, but it's something that you have to deal with. You have to take the time to really understand your financial situation. And it takes time. It takes time to review your budget. It takes time to assess your risks. It takes time to understand what your portfolio should be and making it diverse. And it takes time to see the things that are changing in the economy and finding help to recognize what you should be doing given the current situation. And if you don't have the time or you don't have the expertise or you just plain don't want to do it, make sure you hire someone to do that for you. And once you start making a decent amount of money, you need help in managing that and looking at some of the long-term things in your life, whether it be setting up a will, setting up a trust, setting up your retirement plan, setting up your how to take money out of your 401k. There's so many things that if you make the wrong decision, it can cost you greatly. And if you make the right decision, it can save you a lot of money. And so you got to take the time to do it if you want to be successful. You really do.
Hey, Carl said, the chaplain said, can we do a show on how to do a budget in the future? And that's definitely a yes. You're right.
So that's my favorite subject. I'm a bean counter at heart.
And there's so many online budget worksheets, man, that you can use. So we're gonna put that in our back pocket and make sure we do a show and walk through how to set up, an actual budget. Now that's a great. Yeah, that's a great question. Great ask. Um, yeah. So I want to go to hold on there. Let me get this straight here. So next, though, I want to talk about for when we're talking about financial planning for 2023. Get ready for the tax season. Get your forms ready to file as soon as possible so no one can steal your identity. Dope. Can you share a story about that?
Yeah, I use TurboTax, and I would procrastinate in doing my taxes. And so one year I go to file, and I find that someone has already filed taxes in my wife's name. So some kind of way they got her Social Security number, filed a tax form in her name, and got some kind of refund based on bogus information. But TurboTax wouldn't let me file my taxes because it said you've already filed your taxes. And it creates a nightmare because you have to go through all the credit bureaus and put locks on, and you have to worry about what other parts of your identity did they steal. And that was one of the few years I was expecting a refund, and it delayed that from April until, I don't think I got it until like August. And it just created a nightmare. You feel like you've been robbed, which you have. And not saying if you file early, it won't happen, but you decrease the possibility of it happening the sooner you file. There's less time for someone to have to file in your name. So you get it, you got to do it. You got to do it. So just do it as soon as possible. Get it out the way. Get it behind you.
And if you're getting a return, you want to get your money as soon as possible so that you can have it working for you.
Yep.
Whether it's investing in, a CD or a stock, a mutual fund, or index fund. That's important to get that money, and the sooner you get it, the sooner you can have it working for you. Now that also, even if you owe, you can file your taxes as early as you want. But remember this, you don't have to pay until the due date of April the 15th. That's so interesting. I know that's a new concept for people, but even if you owe, you can file your taxes now, you know? but you don't have to pay it until April the 15th.
Yeah, and just make sure you got all the information, because you don't want to file and then find out you get a 1099 from a bank that you forgot you got some interest in. So make sure you know where your money's coming from, you know where your forms are coming from, and a lot of that stuff now is put out on their websites, so you can go out and get that information and get your taxes done and out of the way. And the next one is more a function of this current economy, but look at interest rates. You know, if you're looking to save money, you know, you need to look at where you park the cash. If you got it sitting in a checking account and you can have it in a CD or a savings account that pays a higher interest rate, you need to do that. Take the steps to make that happen. Any money that you can add into your pocket is a positive thing, and get as much money as you can working for you. Again, checking accounts typically pay below 1%, but you can find 6 or 9 month CDs paying 5%. It's a big difference between 0 and 5%. And also with the current environment of interest rates going up, you try to work to minimize your debt payment. I know that's easier said than done, but again, if you do your budget, find some extra money, apply that to your debt to get that debt payment down, because the interest rate debt or any other kind of interest that you're paying is a burden on your back that you need to get off as soon as you can. So now is the time to look at things, looking at interest rates, and make sure you're maximizing the money you're saving and minimize the amount of money you're paying on in interest.
Yeah, that's very, very, very important. So there is no better time than now to take control of your finances in 2023. You must put the effort. That's the main part, the effort and the time into to achieve success. Things, change, and you must make adjustments accordingly. But the sooner you begin, the better off you be. Don't make plans so strict you can't stick to it. That's why I find a lot of people, they make it so strict, so unrealistic that you can't stick to it. But that's why they talk about SMART goals. Have specific goals and make sure they're measurable, achievable, realistic, and have a timetable. So with that dope, let's go to the wrap up.
Okay.
Summary and takeaways.
Yeah, and the first one is now is the time to get ready for next year. A lot of times during the holidays, it's festive, you partying, you meeting with family and friends. Take some time out to sit down and think about where you want to be financially, how you want. So this time next year, you're sitting in a much better place. Okay, and it won't happen unless, as Bob said, you put the time and effort into it. But this is when you can do it. Get started, so you jump in next year and you're going strong.
Next, get Uncle Sam behind you. You know what I'm saying? Get him off your mind. Like we said, file your taxes. The sooner you file your taxes, once you got all the information, especially if you're getting a better return, get Uncle Sam off your back. And if don't forget about, if you're living in Maryland or whatever state you're in, don't forget about Aunt Maryland or Aunt Pennsylvania. Just get them off your back. Get ahead, because I don't know why people wait. And then, especially if you're getting a return, you let Uncle Sam use your money instead of using your own money. But get Uncle Sam behind you.
And you plan now to be ahead later. You sit down and look at where you are now. You look at your financial statements, and you want to make sure this time next year that the numbers are bigger. Again, you got market conditions that may affect that, but there are things that you can do personally to make sure you're going to have more money next year than you have now. And that's mentioned savings account, reduce your debt payments, but plan now to be ahead later.
Yeah. And the last one, but not least, To alleviate stress, plan for success. That stress is an albatross around your neck. It weighs people down when they're in debt. So, the better you plan, the more you alleviate the stress. We
Yeah,
can't state that enough, people, because so many people are under it. But the better you plan, the less stress you be under. So
yeah.
let's get 2023 together.
Yeah, and let me speak to that just for a minute. And I have a lot of money in the stock market and actually in Nasdaq heavy stocks, and it's gone down. But it's one of those things. Not that I expected or I wanted to happen, but given my risk level, I've accepted the fact that that could happen. And so, yeah, I'd rather see the market go up than go down, but it doesn't bother me. And we always talk about not investing money that you can't afford to lose. And that's really looking at your risk tolerance and doing all the things you can do, setting your budget up, setting your goals up, getting your plans, putting your money away. All the things you can control, you need to can control because there's enough things out there that you can't control, you can't do anything about, and there's no use stressing over those because you don't control those. But you do control how much you spend, how much money you waste, how much money you invest. Those are the kind of things you do control. And if you're on top of those, there's nothing to be stressed about because you're doing the best you can. And that's all you can do.
So just want to say this is the year wrap up, and me and Dodie, we want to thank everybody who's been participating in our show throughout the whole year. If you came in part of the year, my sister Nolia, my sister Linda, Maddie, Carl Chapman, Garnett, Joanne Skinner, Modestine, who's been a stalwart too. We just want to thank you. And my main man, Rodney Madison, the noteexperience.com. We just thank you all so much for sharing our information with your family members and your friends, because this is so important to me and Dope. We just we take this seriously, you all. And like we always say, we don't make no money off of this. We're not trying to make any money off of this, but we want to be able to raise all boats, because there's no reason for people to be stressing because of their finances, because they made, well, first, because they lacked the information, and second, because they had misinformation, or they just didn't have information at all. So thank
Yeah.
you all. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, and we look forward. We're not going to have a show next week. We're going to start off the new year, and we're coming in with a bang, and we're looking for ideas from you all, topics that y'all want us to discuss, and we will revisit any topic that we've already done. But believe it or not, in 81 shows, Dope, we have not duplicated a show.
Yeah.
Which is,
and there's a lot of information out there. Again, as you said, but that's the reason we do this, because both of us are fairly financially literate, and I don't think a week goes by where we don't learn something from each other, something new
right,
that we didn't know, and that's why we have the show, to try to get this information out there, because we know people like us who don't even come close to knowing everything that we should know. And we know people that don't have our financial background of Bob had, I don't know how many years with the FDIC and all the study and courses he's taken. I got a master's, I'm a CPA, and there's still a zillion things that I don't know, and things that I could have done to have maximized my wealth. Now, I did okay. I'm doing pretty good, but could have did better. And with information. So that's why we do this show, to try to get people to make financial planning part of how you think, part of what you do. And we aren't, again, like Bob said, we aren't looking to make anything out of it. It's just the satisfaction we get out of knowing we're passing on information and helping people save money and make money.
So we're looking forward to 2023. Can you believe that, though? Remember, they were talking about Y2K and the systems going down and people were panicking. 23 years later. Good, great. So that's why it's so important, you all, especially for you young people. It is never too early. And for you older people, it is never too late. Because one thing an old lady told me, though, time will pass with you or without you. And you better hope it passes with you. And how it passes with you is just being knowledgeable, y'all. So share this information. We love you all. And like you say, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Merry Kwanzaa, Merry Kwanzaa. I guess it's Happy Kwanzaa and Happy Wali Tabuki. That's African, though. I know you don't know about that one. So anyway, we love y'all. Look forward to seeing y'all in 2023. Good gracious, though. Peace. Have a good one, you all. We love y'all.